Supergreen Solutions was established as a one-stop shop for energy-efficient products and services. You cannot go anywhere in the county and find somebody that can do what we do here. Off-grid, the assumption is we had an earthquake, services are down, or somebody took out the transformer at the end of the street and you're going to be down for a few days. There's 3 different ways to do a PV system, photovoltaic, for those of you that don't know. One is fully on-grid, grid-tied. What that means is you put the solar on the roof, you let SDG&E do what they need to do. The second way to do this would be what's called grid interactive. So some of the other things that you can do with this, you can use PV to keep a water tub full out on the farms and stuff like that. What becomes critical at that point is what you have drawing power. Refrigerators, like that noisy thing in the back of the room, that kind of thing. Lights. All of these things draw power. And you have to know how much power they're going to draw before you start setting up these systems and trying to compensate for them. The other one is grid tied. You maximize your output to offset everything that you're getting from San Diego Gas and Electric so you don't have to pay them a bill. 2 different ideas on how to implement these things. Continuous operation, you try to have a battery in there so it runs all night long. When it's grid tied, you're operating with a grid tied inverter. That means when the grid goes down, no power. Here's a grid-tied battery system, and this is probably why a lot of you are here. This operates as a grid-tied inverter in the presence of the grid, and then it starts operating off the batteries when it loses the grid. This is called grid interactive as well. So it's a little bit different on how you want to do it. Grid tie, you want to maximize the power during the course of the day because you're not charging batteries, and you're not reliant on the batteries. You're just trying to offset the money that you're paying to San Diego Gas and Electric. When you're off-grid, you have to maximize how much power you're going to get into the batteries before the end of the day. The later in the day it gets, the less time you have to charge the battery. With off-grid, generally the assumption is they're going to be mounted, dismounted, moved around, semi-mobile, that kind of thing. So they tend to be a little heavier built with heavier frames. When it's grid-tied, you've really got to watch what you're doing because the panels are there and they're just sitting there. When you're doing grid-tied on the houses and stuff, you got to think 20 years ahead on these things. John, the homeowner, just planted a really nice, beautiful maple tree on the corner of his property somewhere, but it's south of the house. And right now it's all about 8 feet tall. Okay. 20 years from now, that maple tree is going to be 50 feet tall, 50 feet around. It's going to shade everything. So you've got to kind of think ahead on those kind of things. There's any number of things that you can do for the batteries. The inverter is going to be a big one. One of the things I found, for example, I was running one of my water machines at the Vista Farmers Market. When you have electric motors, refrigerators, that thing, air conditioning, that kind of thing. So for example, if that thing runs at 500 watts, it actually takes 1200 watts to jump it, so it's 2.5 times what the normal running wattage is. When you're going off-grid, you have to account for the draw. You have to account for how long you want the device to run. Generally 20 hours a day is what's an accepted number. There's 2 things that you have to worry about. How much power you're going to have with the load, that means the refrigerators, medical devices, a fan or 2, a few lights at night, that kind of thing. And then how big the batteries are going to be. And how long you're going to be able to power those things. Those are the 2 things that you need to worry about.
How do you define that MPPT controller?
Multi-point power tracking. So what it does is it monitors the volts, monitors the amps, and somehow magically it gets the maximum amount of power out of it given what you have. Batteries. This is the big thing. This is where you're going to store it all. You made it with the solar panels, now you have to store it. You got flooded lead acid. Everybody knows what those are. Different batteries do different things. If you want to just set up a prototype, just go find a car battery and goof with it and see if you can get it to work. If you can get it to work, then you start looking into the gel batteries and the AGM batteries and the more high-end batteries if it's going to be more of a permanent solution. I would go toward the gelled and lead acid, or the gelled and the AGM before I would go with the lead acid. For the gelled and the AGM, all that stuff's pretty well set. It's sealed. You don't have an evaporation problem. Each of the battery chargers, there's usually a setting for the gel or the AGM batteries. Okay, and they charge a little different than they do the lead acid. So generally there's a switch in there, and it charges it differently. So you want to make sure that you're doing a maintenance.
So you can't mix them up. You can't mix and match. You can't have gel and the.
Generally not a good idea because the capacities are different. With the gel batteries, as you can see, the Aqualight, it's actually a Vaseline light, so it's a very, very thick. It's not going to evaporate as quickly, so the maintenance is a lot less. If you tend to spill them on their side or something, you're not going to get any leaks out of them. Having a lithium battery setup on your house and your charger goes down, you have to now find a lithium-ion battery charger specific to your set. In my opinion, if you're going to put batteries on your home and you want the absolute best, lithium is the way to go. And you have to watch the temperature. If they get too hot, they do tend to crack. When the batteries crack, they tend to burn. The wet batteries, the only reason they would have a memory is because they are starting to fail and they won't charge up as full anymore. So lithium ion, I have yet to see a problem where you cannot charge them up and discharge them down to just about zero. Which of these, in your opinion, would be the best way to set this up? And this one here involves the entire bank of batteries from start to finish. This one here picks them off at different points, so these here might drain down differently. The Chinese panels, a lot of the less expensive ones have a different material than the LGs and stuff. So they're not quite as efficient. I like the LG panels myself.
LG.
Yeah, bang for the buck. With solar panels, there's a general degradation is 0.5% per year. Put it up and they shot an ice pellet out of it at 250 miles an hour and it didn't break the glass. So here, the latitude is about 35 degrees. So you would place the panels 35 degrees down from horizontal plus 10 degrees. So you're going to be at about 45-degree angle facing into the sun. And then you're going to have it more or less more toward the east to try to catch the morning sun to get the batteries topped off early in the day. You don't want to wait until late in the day to get the batteries topped off.
On your electric bill, at what point does it make sense to go solar?
150 bucks. Right about 150 bucks. PPA is called a power purchase agreement. All you have to do is buy your power from them. They are using your roof. They are getting the 30% federal tax credit. They are also getting 5 years of equipment depreciation because they're a corporation. You don't. I like purchases. I don't like leasing. I don't like PPAs, and I don't even offer them. Point Loma Credit Union and San Diego Metropolitan Credit Union, they have some green loans that are available, allow you to keep it. You own the solar system. You get the 30% federal tax credit. You also get the interest rate deduction. The next one is what's called the HERO program. This is relatively new. They don't loan you the money. They loan your house the money. The interest rates are reasonable, you get a lot of the money back, and it just passes along with the property. Leasing does not increase the value of your property. It is an additional encumbrance on the property. If you're looking for something that's just small to get the refrigerator running because San Diego Gas and Electric decided you don't need power for the rest of the day, get a series of batteries, put them in the garage, put a trickle charger on it, keep it charged. Off-grid, what you're doing is you're charging the batteries, and the batteries are your primary source of power. Solar is a way of doing the charging. You can also charge the batteries with a grid interactive charger. So I'm sorry I didn't get to cover all the details. I know there's so much with this that you know, all I did is I probably raised more questions than anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions?